Today on the PROLIFE podcast, Jamie Lynn Spears opens up about the pressure she received to abort. We need to talk about this. Let's get started. Happy Thursday, PROLIFE family. Grab your coffee, pull up a chair. We made it through Snowpocalypse round one.
Mm-hmm. Texas winter. We did the first round.
I think it's supposed to get cold again.
No.
Tomorrow.
No.
Boo.
We're going to cancel that? Please.
Weathermen, what do they know?
Literally, though, actually.
Oh, well, we made it. And we're going to talk about a couple stories. One of them tragic, one not. And there's a lot of spin on one of these. But first, friends at the table.
Kim Schwartz, Director of Media and Communication.
Billy Barton, Development Associate.
Britt Klingerman, IT Director. Thanks for coming in on a cold day to do recording.
Yes.
We made it here, and I think we're going to record and call it a day before it gets any colder.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so this story, we'll start with the sad one first. This one's tragic, but skimming this article, there seems to be a lot of spin with a headline, "Did an abortion ban cost a young Texas woman her life?" Did it?
Thumbs down to the New Yorker. Like, this is a horrible article. And what we're going to see in the topics that we discussed today, we have one story about Jamie Lynn Spears, who was pressured to have an abortion. And this woman from Luling who passed away. She was pregnant. She had some complications with her pregnancy. And now, after her death, the media is coming back and looking at the circumstances surrounding her death and are just saying, like, well, wouldn't abortion have been the better answer? Wouldn't abortion just be like the real solution? And that's kind of the common thread, I think, between these two stories of like abortion supporters just saying, like, well, wouldn't abortion be the better answer? So we're going to dive into the details here in a second and talk about the circumstances surrounding her death and what she actually like would have wanted. But it's just like really, really shocking. And you hear the headline like that, like, did an abortion ban cost her life? And it really just reveals the mindset behind the media that's really pushing these stories and behind abortion supporters. So this story from the New Yorker follows the pregnancy and the death of this young woman named Yenny Glicks, who was from Luling. And Luling is a rural town in Texas, and a lot of rural areas in Texas do have this problem of not having good maternity care. I'm from a small town, so in your small town, you might have like one little podunk hospital, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially here at this one described in the article that there was no OB-GYN. Let me read.
So within about 30 miles-ish, most people would leave Luling and go to either Kyle or Austin.
Right.
Care.
Yeah. So whenever you're in a small town, like my grandparents had a hospital like this in their town, and my grandpa always said, if something happens, do not take me to the hospital in the small town. Drive me to the bigger town that's like near our small town. And that's a common thing. But whenever you're pregnant, you might not have that freedom to be like, let's take the 30-minute drive over here to the small town. So we have that issue.
Children can be inconsiderate in their timing like that.
Hey, the children aren't the problem. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
You're part of the problem. No, that's a joke. Anyways, so at this hospital that the labor and delivery unit closed years ago, and there was no OB-GYN on site. Kyle was the nearest town that was 30 miles away. And so you have this very difficult circumstance where there's more babies being born in this small town. It says by 2022, 2 hospital employees told one of the employees there that the number of women giving birth in the Luling ER was surging, and they recalled only seeing 5 or 6 births in the previous decade. Now it felt like uncontrolled chaos. Babies were being delivered in the waiting room or crowning on a stretcher in the hallway, and the other 4 beds being occupied. So obviously you can hear that this is a bad situation at the hospital in Luling. And that is kind of what the article is alleging that contributed to this young woman's death, Yenny. So whenever she started having medical complications, she came to the Luling ER. They weren't really able to treat her well, so they were able to stabilize her and then transfer her to a hospital in Austin. She was in the ICU in Austin and was treated there for a few days, but she was also uninsured. And so she was worried about the rising medical bills while she was there. So she left the hospital, went back home. And whenever she was at home, again, having more complications, then she tried to go back to the Luling ER. They tried to treat her as best they could, and she passed away. So that's the very like condensed version of this story. But you'll see like the problems that contributed to this was that the ER in this small town was not like properly equipped to handle more births. And that's a problem that can be solved without abortion. But the media is saying like, well, wouldn't it have just been better if all of these women could abort their babies? And the babies are not the problem. The babies don't make more doctors appear in your small town. Actually, like there's going to be fewer doctors if you keep having abortions because you're aborting the next generation, the future.
Yeah. I mean, the article even says, they quote that statistic that over 10,000 babies have been delivered because of SB 8, the heartbeat bill in Texas. But they say it like it's a problem.
Yeah.
And just think about how sinister that is. 10,000 lives. It's like, whole 10,000 lives, they were all born.
Yeah.
This is chaos. Like, those are people.
Yeah.
Real people.
Oh, I dare you. Go to these researchers, these reporters, like, go to those moms of the 10,000 babies and say, like, wouldn't it have been better if you would have had an abortion? You might get slapped. Like, mothers love their children for good reason. If you ask them on other days, maybe sometimes they're like, not so good reason. But yeah, that's so insensitive to suggest like this other person is the problem, that this child is the problem. And there's no evidence that this young woman, Yenny, would have wanted an abortion. And in fact, her mother is quoted in the article saying that she recalls kind of Yenny saying that if it had come down to her life or her child's life, she would want the doctors to try to save the child's life. So this conclusion that like, oh, well, she would have just been better off with an abortion is not even what she wanted. But again, like, even if that is like what, for an elective abortion, like what we're talking about, just if a mother wants an abortion, that doesn't mean like it's okay. But this idea that the child is the problem, that somebody else is the problem, when really, whenever we point out that like, oh, well, this person is the problem, that's whenever people are trying to avoid the responsibility for themselves. I'm not saying that like this reporter is at fault for her death, but we can contribute to a solution. We can take responsibility for a solution and try to like improve care in maternal care in rural areas without saying like, oh, well, the child's the problem, right?
Yeah. Because we also have to remember that a high-risk pregnancy is, of course, scary and it's dangerous. And thank goodness we do have great doctors in our country that can help us through that. But that's not to say that abortion is not high risk or dangerous, because it definitely is. And so I get very upset when I read stuff like this and they're just treating abortion like it's safe and it's healthy. And that's a lie. It's not safe and healthy.
They've had for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the truth.
Yeah. There was a quote in here where the reporter called it a therapeutic abortion.
Oh, yes, that. Oh,
what? I missed that.
Yeah. Oh, good. You're better off.
It's a long article. Okay.
It
is a long article, but in reading it, I'm just looking at this going, she never shows any signs that she wanted an abortion.
Right.
Yeah.
Interviewing with the family, none of the family comments lead towards she wanted an abortion, she couldn't get one.
Right. Mm-hmm. That was not the story.
How the family feels about this story now.
That's a great question. We don't know, because like the family participated in like kind of telling her story, but they never said anything about abortion or that like, yeah, we wish she would have had an abortion, or she said that she wanted. They never said any of that. So this the media sounds like they're just pulling their conclusions straight out of thin air, and it's part of a like greater agenda that we're seeing. Like they're just pulling all of these like difficult cases, that actually do happen, and we do want to like solve the problems that lead to these cases. But they're like, look at this case. Isn't abortion the answer? Look at this case. Isn't abortion the answer? Well, why don't we come up with a better answer?
Yeah. And the reality is abortion is never the answer. It is never. You can tell all your friends that want to have these conversations, that want to point to these articles of these they are tragic cases. But abortion is not the answer. And we, as pro-lifers, we need to stand strong on that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we start bringing in all these other arguments or, try to, it's not bad to pick this apart and kind of figure out like where the reporter went wrong.
Right.
But at the end of the day, abortion is just wrong.
Right.
And there's not a situation that justifies abortion.
And actually, there is a possibility that whenever the mother was in the hospital, that if they would have delivered the baby, prematurely, if they would have chosen to deliver the child instead of like, keep her pregnant and wait and try to like do all these other things. I'm not, giving the medical advice that like, they acted with malpractice or anything. But one of the articles that I read reflecting on this story said actually like an early delivery probably could have saved this woman and could have saved the child too. Like the child was about 22 weeks, which is really, really tiny. And the odds of this daughter surviving probably would have been slim, but it's not unheard of. Like it's whenever we're having like better and better technology and trying to save the child's life instead of treating the child as the problem, that's whenever we come up with the real solutions.
Definitely. And we do live in a world with technology, like I was saying before. Like it's great that we do have the luxury of technology and great doctors, but even if we didn't, abortion existed long before the 21st century. And we need to be careful to not stand on, help me what I'm trying to say.
Right.
We can't stand on these like, well, it's wrong. But
because it's not wrong because you could have treated the child, or it's like, the answer is not like it's wrong because you could have done this other thing, or abortion is wrong because the mother didn't want an abortion. Abortion is wrong because it kills a human child.
Yes.
Period. No matter what the other like alternatives are. But you see their argument, the reporter's argument, fall apart because it's like, number one, we have no evidence that she wanted an abortion, that she actually wanted like her child to live if it came down to between her or her child, and that there were other alternatives that probably could have saved the mother's life and possibly, hopefully, the child, but we don't know.
Exactly. Get yourself a pro-life friend that can
get yourself a pro-life friend who makes awesome, like, tease it up.
You have an idea and then you bring it to life.
Yes. But definitely pray for this family. And like, we don't take her situation lightly or the loss of this mother and the loss of this child because, nobody can replace their lives. We value both the mother and the child, and now their lives are gone forever. So pray for that family, but again, like pray for the conversion of the media too, because like this is just bad, plain bad.
It's fear-based and it's deceiving. And as a pro-lifer, if you read it and you start to feel this lie of shame for having the beliefs that you do, just take that to the Lord, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to scare you, and they're trying to scare people who don't have the beliefs that we do. And it's really harmful to our culture.
Yeah.
Just our society.
Okay. We need to wrap this up on a happier note. There's a lot of spin here. You can look at what the family says versus kind of the journalist, and you can tell they don't seem to be on the same page. But I do want to talk about this other story about Jamie Lynn Spears, and we're going to talk about her pregnancy after this break.
Great news. Texas Right to Life is celebrating our 50th birthday this year. This is half a century of victories that the Lord has given us. But God is not done yet. The battle for life is only increasing as the abortion industry is going underground to promote death and sell abortion. Join us in supporting Texas Right to Life's 50th birthday campaign and chip in with a gift today. Thank you for 50 years of saving lives, And friend, the best is yet to come.
Without warning, you or your loved one could end up in the emergency room where every second counts and your medical wishes matter more than ever. However, if your loved one doesn't have the right medical documents on hand, they may not be able to make decisions for you in a crisis. My Life Angels solves all of this by walking you through step by step in creating these important medical documents and storing them online securely for you and your family to access at any time. The service is only $7 a month, but use the link in our description for 20% off your initial subscription period. Don't let strangers make life and death decisions for you. Get the My Life Angels app today.
Welcome back, friends. We want to talk about Lynn Spears. If you don't know who that is, it's Britney Spears' little sister.
Zoe 101, people.
Yes.
Come on.
If you are our age, you know Zoe 101.
Oh, 100%.
And it was an epic, amazing show.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm
was the
a
best.
slightly more familiar with the show she was on. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Oh, well done.
About that much. I think I've seen maybe an episode of that, which is 100% more episodes than I've seen of Zoe 101. So
we have an inverse here.
Oh, we do. I know that's kind of like we take some Dancing with the Stars-esque lists, celebrities, and we throw them in the jungle and we play Survivor.
Right. I don't think any of us particularly care about that show, and you probably, if you're watching this, you probably are not a super fan of that show. But Lynn Spears actually had like a really like kind of heart-to-heart with another cast member, I guess, of
Contestant,
whatever.
Yeah. It is kind of one of those reality competition shows. It's
Okay.
like who's gonna stick it out in the jungle the longest or whatever. But
Yeah.
whatever.
So yeah, I guess they got into just like, the deep conversations that the being in the wilderness will bring about. But she was talking about her pregnancy when she was 16. And I actually still remember this from when I was little. My sister and I love Zoe 101. We love Lynn Spears. We wanted to be just like her. And I remember seeing in the tabloids when we go to the grocery store, like 16 and pregnant. And at the time, there was that one show called 16 and Pregnant that we would also
those were
watch
about the same
that.
time, weren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was an interesting, I wouldn't say it's different now necessarily, but that was a very interesting time period where there was a lot of fear-based messaging, kind of like that article that we read earlier, that was like, if you're 16 and pregnant, your life is over. Like, look at like the reality TV show 16 and Pregnant. Like, they just showed what a mess their lives are. And I genuinely think it was to instill fear into young girls like myself watching it, that your life is over. And Lynn did not decide to have an abortion, even though she was pressured to by, it sounds like, and of course, this is speculation. This is what she shared on the show. We don't know her personally, so we're not going to try to come at it like that. But she shared that her parents and people around her were pressuring her to have an abortion, that this would ruin her career path, all this stuff. And she said no, she did not want to. She wanted to keep the baby. She said that the guy she was with at the time, she thought it was love of her life, and they wanted to have the baby. And I just think it's so incredible because there's all these people around her being like, this is going to ruin you. This is going to ruin your reputation. And I remember being a little girl and hearing that she was pregnant and being like, oh, like what the heck? Like, what does that mean? Not even having an opinion necessarily about it. But now that I'm an adult, I look at her and I'm like, man, she's awesome. Like, that was so brave of her to say, no, I'm not going to take this quote unquote magical pill and sacrifice my child for my career. And now she's, don't get me wrong, she's not like an A-list celebrity or anything like that. But
she's on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
She is on that. Maybe her career didn't thrive as much as it would have, but she doesn't regret it.
Yeah.
She's a 15-year-old daughter now. And it's incredible to hear someone be so brave in a situation like that.
And this happens with like every female celebrity too. Like this is one who's like telling her story. And I remember one quote that even stuck out to me from her spiel on the show was like, my parents or whomever, the adults in my life would come into my room and say, this is going to ruin your life. Like saying expletives at her, calling her bad words that we cannot repeat on the show. And and saying specifically like, oh, there are pills you can take. Like they had the plan and telling her like, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, the quotes in here are like, it will kill your career. You're just too young. You don't know what you're doing. There are pills you can take, and we can take care of this. I know a doctor. And you're 16, and the people in your life are telling you these things. Like, 16-year-olds are not exactly known for standing up to peer pressure.
Yeah.
And this is the peer pressure she's getting.
Yeah.
Kill your kid.
That is a miracle that she stood strong against that.
Yeah.
It really is. And this is not even the narrative that they try to feed us, like the Planned Parenthood narrative, which is, we have to help women who are impoverished and they don't have the resources, so we're going to, give them abortions. This is a woman who is well off.
Mm-hmm.
She's already probably made a fortune from
She's
that
living the
TV
celebrity
show.
life.
Her older sister is very rich and famous. This seems to me to be a situation that totally contradicts the narrative of we're trying to help these women who don't have the resources, which really gets to the heart of it, that's not the narrative anymore.
Right.
It's not safe, rare, and legal. It's on demand, no questions asked.
Right. Abortion's just the answer. Like, that's it. Like, if you're Jamie Lynn Spears and you're a celebrity, like, abortion's just the answer.
Abortion's the answer. I don't like the question.
Good point. Yeah.
Let's reframe the question.
Yeah. Here. And that's why I think during that time of, like I was saying, the fear-based, messaging from those TV shows or the tabloids of just being like, oh, like she's so far gone. And don't get me wrong, like she probably was in a world of hurt at that time. And whether she knew it or not, we as Christians should be so much more like graceful towards those people that find themselves in situations like that, especially with pregnancy.
Yeah. Because a baby is not a sin. A baby is not the problem. The baby is created by God with a plan and a purpose and is a blessing. And that's the kind of reaction that we should have whenever a woman comes to us, even if it's a difficult situation, or even a father. If your son comes to you and says, my girlfriend is pregnant, the baby is a blessing. And the circumstances that led to that, we need to talk about that and ask for forgiveness and find the Lord. And we don't have to do that with shame and guilt, and especially not take that out on the child.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
I think there was that video that we talked about a long time ago where that comedian
Jen Fulwiler.
Yeah, she talks about how like the only correct response to when someone tells you that they're pregnant is congratulations. Like literally, whatever else you're thinking, don't say it.
Yes. Good advice. We're gonna revisit that. Okay. Yeah. If someone says I'm having a baby, you just say congratulations.
In this economy?
Right. Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
That was part of her sketch.
Yeah, that was
she wasn't.
That is not what I would say ever.
In an alternate reality. That's what these reporters would be like.
Yeah.
Man. So.
And think about how we don't want to get on a whole other tangent. We were talking about how many tangents we could possibly go on with these stories, but think about your outlook on life when you treat others around you, even the smallest around you that are tucked in their mother's womb, like how much that affects the way you treat people and the way you treat yourself and the outlook you have on life and the compassion that you'd be able to show, instead of just tossing them aside as unworthy. I can't imagine what that must do like to your heart to do that to other people, like real people that are just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of tangents we could go on. I will throw one tangent in there that if you look at even the bloodline of Jesus, there are several cases of women in bad situations who end up in the bloodline of our Savior. Like, God can do stuff. It's not like she got pregnant and God went, how did that happen?
Yeah.
He kind of invented how that would happen. He knows exactly that was going to happen. That child, he had a plan for that child. So to just say, oh, well, get an abortion. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, there's my rant. All right. Well, friends, thank you for watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, commenting.
Donating.
Donating's a good one. Keep this program going and out there to the internet for you to share with all of your friends and loved ones. Wink, wink. You're going to do that, right? Thanks. We appreciate that. We really do appreciate that. So like, subscribe, leave a comment. We love you guys. We will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.